Themes. My name is Esther Maundu. I am the founder of RTT, and at RTT we are committed to providing you with mental muscles. That's what we are doing. From the word radiant, we are picking radiance. That means illuminating your inner self, your inside, your soul, your mind, your heart, what the Bible calls the heart of a man, And the Bible says that from the heart of a man proceeds the issues of life. So we want to illuminate that part where the issues of life are flowing from, and ensure that what is coming out of that center of life, that source of life, is serving you rather than sabotaging you, is providing life to you and not death. So our focus is equipping you with mental health muscles and then ensuring that you're healed from inside, because a healed soul will be able to heal the world. So at RTT, we are dedicated to reshaping mental health narrative through psychoeducation, through mentorship, through therapy, and through empowerment programs like My Beautiful Scars.
Welcome to My Beautiful Scars. This is an initiative by RTT, Radiant Throne Themes, aimed at equipping you with mental muscles through testimonies of lived experiences and expertise, help into mental resilience. We bring to you psychoeducation from lived experience, helping you put context in your own life experience. Above all, we help you rise from shame to strength and shatter every stigma surrounding mental health.
Welcome to My Beautiful Scars. My Beautiful Scars. My Beautiful Scars. Now, this is a program by RTT, the Radiant Throne Themes, that is aimed at equipping you with mental health muscles. At My Beautiful Scars, pain is not permanent. Dark nights are simply the gateway to brighter mornings. We embrace our scars as bunches of honor, not as marks of defeat. We are rising from pain to purpose. We are rising from shame to honor. We are embracing our scars and looking at them. They remind us that we have been through stuff. We have been through dark times. But that was just an opening to our mornings. A scar means that the art is over and now we are healed. Our scars are just tattoos of better stories. My scar tells me that I survived. I courageously went through that fire, yet it didn't consume me. Now, why my beautiful scars? Scars are never beautiful, they are ugly. They are very ugly indeed. And most people don't like their scars. They don't love the scars. They don't embrace their scars. Why? Because the scars are reminding them of painful moments, the failures, the shame, the laughter, the things that they have been through, the fire. You look at the scar and you feel like bad about what you went through. But at RTT, we are saying, no. We are not going to waste our pain. We will not waste that incident. We will not waste that failure. No, we are not going to waste that moment. We are owning our scars, and instead of calling them ugly, we are calling them beautiful, because today we choose to transform our scars, to strength. We are rising from the pain, from pain to purpose. We are rising, from shame to glory. We are getting out of that situation of self-pity, and we are owning our scars and saying that you are no longer a mark of shame. You are rather a tattoo that is full of beautiful stories. I have survived that challenge, and therefore I have become intelligent emotionally. I have become resilient. I have strength to face the challenge that is ahead of me. And so I look at my scar and say, yes, you came from seeking people's validation to validating yourself. That is what our scars are reminding us. And everybody has a scar. You went through pain. You lost a loved one. You were overwhelmed. You didn't know how to proceed even for a day. And here you are 10 years down the line. You have educated your kids a lot. You have been able to, support them. You supported yourself. People thought you're going to fail, but here you are. You have stood by God's grace, and we are saying, these are my beautiful scars. What once destroyed us is the same thing that is beating us today. What once, made us look like failures is what is now exposing us to victory and radiance this day. What once consumed us today is the same thing that is giving us honor and building us. We chose to pick our broken pieces and build good art with it. And therefore, we are no longer in our past, but we are living today with new courage, with new tenacity. We are stronger than yesterday, and this is my beautiful scars. That thing that appears to be so painful, to be so shameful, you can still transform it into something great, into something full of purpose and full of life. And this is my beautiful scars. Now, we are also under my beautiful scars bringing you series. We will do it in series. And the first series is a discussion around mental health, because everything is about mental health. We bring you stories of resilience, stories of people that have battled a lot of stuff in life. And from the lived experiences, we are analyzing their lives and making sense of it with an eye of psychology. So we are not just bringing you episodes and testimonies and lived experiences of people. No, we want to show you from those stories where mental health is and how, it affects people and what ought to have been done or what ought to be done. And we just want to show you how mental health looks like, from such stories. So we have an expert making sense of the lived experience, and we have a guest giving us their testimonies.
My name is Alina Kiende. I am a psychologist and I practice in Anchor Life Psychotherapy. I'm so happy to be joining Esther today and our other guests, and ready to just unpack what we have in store for you today. Stay tuned.
Great pleasure having you, Alina. Kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Okech. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a leader in church. And yes.
Pleasure having you today, Dorothy. And allow me to put a disclaimer before we begin the episode that our today's discussion is a little bit intense. It has some intense emotions, and because we are talking about loss, we are talking about grief. So we want to advise you to watch at your pace. As we move on with our discussion and you feel like you're overwhelmed, kindly pause and seek help. So without further ado, I want us to go straight to our today's story. As I said, we are talking about death, and it is a topic that is not so much discussed, I think, because of the pain that comes with that. Yeah. And so it's kind of difficult to talk about death.
I mean, death is, I think a lot of people find it very difficult to talk about death because for a lot of them, the finality that it brings,
Yes.
because when you say, oh, you're sick, you're going to get well. But when you're dead, we read stories, yes, we understand where you are going and all of that, but we've not been there. So there is that finality that people avoid, and then our cultures as well, the society, the fear of death, a lot of stereotypes and culture, things included there. So a lot of people don't like talking about death. Yet it is part and parcel of our lives. So I don't think it's a topic that people should avoid. It's they should embrace it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. And I'm looking at death and somebody transitioning to a place that has no address, unknown address. And you're used to interaction in terms of time and closeness and also relationship. And this time around, that person is in a place where you cannot really reach out to them and do the normal interactions. And I think that void is what now brings the devastation, and it gets us overwhelmed. Yeah, when we imagine that it's gone and that's it. Yeah. So picking from your word, finality, the finality of death. Yet, is it part of life, or is it? What do we say?
It is. I mean, because anybody you will hear everybody has lost someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, anybody. And then don't you always hear when you attend burials, this time is this somebody's, next time it could be us. So even living life, and I think even when the psalmist talks about numbering your
Our
days,
yes.
this is what it means, knowing that the moment that you have, live this moment, not for death to stop us from where we are going.
Yes.
It shouldn't stop us from living, but it should be something that tells us, okay, we are here today, can we do everything that we need to do today? Yes.
Wow, that's quite awesome, and I love that bit. Death will make us appreciate life. We are here, and life is a gift. So I want to bring in our dear sister, our guest, Dorothy, to just share a little bit of her life and a journey and encounters with death. But then with the loss, not really with death, but with the loss that is coming from death. And Dorothy, I am so grateful, that you have come to My Beautiful Scars, specifically to talk about the painful moments that you've had in life. And I'm looking at you as a champion. I'm looking at you as a voice to many, because there are people who are suffering in silence, but you have chosen to come and, talk about your experience. And through your experience, though not so good, but it will be beautiful at the end of the day, because you will give hope to somebody else. So that's so selfless of you, and we truly appreciate that moment. So kindly, would you walk us through your journey? Like, how was your life before the first incidents of loss due to death happened?
My journey before my first experience with death was just okay. I was just this young girl, the firstborn, who was loved by the parents, the firstborn. And it started in a very early age, when I was 12. And my mother was pregnant, and I was told, my mother was told not to breastfeed the other child.
Yeah. How old was the child?
The child was 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
So
2 years,
not,
and then
not even 2 years. She was one point.
Yeah.
1 and maybe 3 months, and my mother was pregnant.
Yeah.
Now the elderly women told my mother not to breastfeed the other one. She was called Vida. Now, if my mother was not to breastfeed, now lazima angechukuliwa na mtu mwingine, and I was the next person.
Because
So-
now you're the firstborn.
No, I was the firstborn. So I was given that girl. Mimi ndio nikae na yeye. Mama yangu hakuruhusiwa kushinda amembeba ati hiyo mimba itamkondesha, kitu kaa hiyo. Walikuwa wanasema hiyo. So even me, I didn't want my sister to die. So I took over. Nilikuwa kila pahali niko na yeye, carrying her everywhere, sleep with her. And then after
You're still a student that time? At
Yeah,
12 years,
at
you're still in
12
school?
12 years, I think I was in class 7, I think.
Grade 7, yeah.
Yeah. So one day I come from school and I'm told Vida was sick, and my mother rushed her to hospital in Kisii. And then now I was with the family. I'm the firstborn. I cook, I do everything. And then because my father was working in Kisii, so they were there, all of them. So we were just hearing, oh, she's okay, and the news walikuwa wanakuja tu wanaambia awashosh. Mimi nilikuwa nazisikia tu chini ya maji. So one day I hear that Vida is dead. And wakati ule kukuwa na simu. The next thing I saw, someone came with a box. My parents and I think someone arranged with the hospital. So they gave my mother, the parents, the baby. So akawekwa kwa box. So walifukuza mama yangu asitembee nao. Mama yangu akakuja mbele, nikashtukia mama yangu anakuja akilia. So I'm surprised. What is happening? Vida is dead. Siko nimeona mtu close na mimi akikufa. And then I see my father coming with someone, amebeba box. And then wakiwa hapo nyuma ya nyumba, naona wakitoanisha box and then Vida anatolewa. It was a pain that I don't know. Because this child, wakati nilikuwa na yeye, akilia, nilikuwa hadi namnyonyesha. Juu sasa mi kelele, alikuwa anapiga kelele sana, anataka matiti.
You're looking at that formative years. The baby is still infant, it's not yet even a toddler. Yeah.
So unajua kila wakati akitaka matiti, alikuwa analia. So watu walianza tu kusikia kama sasa wasikii sauti yake, kumbe nilikuwa namnyonyesha. So tukakuwa very close na nilibond na yeye. Kuna vile nilibond na yeye kila wakati. So naona anatolewa kwa box. Nashangaa, hey, what is this? Na sikuwa na believe ati amekufa. Nilikuwa naona mwili yake iko soft. Na amelalishwa hapo kwa sitting room yetu. So kila wakati nilikuwa napita naangalia, I believed atafufuka. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa kwa akili yangu. I believed atafufuka. So nilikuwa nashinda nikipita nikimwangalia, naona bado amelala tu. Sometimes ningetime watu alafu namshika hivi mikono, naona nasema huyu atafufuka. Sioni kama atazikwa.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden nasikia uncle wangu mwingine anasema, zikeni haraka haraka, mimi nataka kuenda narudi job. I hated that uncle of mine because naona ni kama alifanya huyu mtoto akazikwa na alikuwa fufuki.
Yeah, so in your heart, you at that point of like, no, though the child is dead, the sister is dead, but then you were expecting that.
Nilikuwa na expect.
You have hopes that the girl will resurrect.
Yeah.
And then now they hurrying up the burial.
They are hurrying up the burial and they buried him. They buried her. Mimi naona hata awekwe vizuri. When they were putting her in the coffin, I gave my mother a shawl. Mweke kwa kichwa. Kichwa inaweza umia. So nilikuwa nashinda nikizunguka hapo. But I don't think people knew what I was going through. People didn't know what I was going through.
Did anybody speak to you about that? Like,
No.
Yeah.
No one knew that I was suffering. They only knew my mother. So it was my mother, ndio watu wanakuja kwake wanamuuliza, what happened? She narrates the story. Another person comes, she narrates the story. It was my mother, my father, my mother, my father. But me, I was just here. No one noticed that I had an issue.
Wow, that must have been so painful. Now, I'm looking at that and listening to that, Alina. Do we not assume that children don't grieve, they don't suffer when a loved one is gone? And because looking at what Dorothy is saying is that the attention was on the mother and the father, but not to the siblings, to the sisters and brothers. And we feel like that kids don't really get stressed up. They don't go through issues. They don't feel the pain, Is it because they don't have vocabulary to express themselves, or what do you think?
I think it's just an assumption that children are too young to even understand what is going on. Plus, they don't even expect there's that attachment, because the way she's talking about, it was about the mother and the father. Those are the parents.
Yeah.
So people feel like those are the ones that are entitled, to grieve. And therefore they will leave these others, and especially this one that had even bonded so much with this child, including breastfeeding, because that is why a child bonds more with the mother than the father. That time, because of, especially when they are so little, because there is you are source of comfort for this child, and then you're spending a lot of time with them. So I feel like adults feel like children are not entitled to the grief, or they don't understand even what's going on. I mean, and then they forget so quickly. Children heal so fast and they move on so fast. That is what we hear out here.
Yeah, is
That
that
is what
true?
we hear. It's not true.
Yeah.
Grief is grief for everyone, and that is why when something, a loss like this happens, it's good to go around and find out, how are you dealing with this? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts around this? So that at least everybody is included in the grief. And even when you hear the way she's, talking about how she did not believe the child was dead, she knew Vida was going to come back to life. That is a classic denial, which is a normal stage of grief. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a stage. Is it the second stage of? No, it's the first
It's the
stage
first.
actually.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at this pre-adolescent, and the pain that has now come to her. Is kind of overwhelming her. There's no one to confide in. There's nobody to understand. And then that bit of now she's in denial, and then she doesn't get out of that, because there's nobody to help her process, because anyway, to her there's no language. That she
Yes.
doesn't know how to process, and there's nobody holding space for her, to mourn and
Yeah.
to understand what happened to the sister. So I'm looking at issues to do with getting fixated there and the effect of that. Yeah. Sorry for that. Yeah. So, as our next part, what is your take on that? How can that impact on our mental wellness?
Just like they say, the stages of grief, it's not necessary for you to go through all of them, and not everyone goes through all of them.
Yes.
It just depends with the personality and how you're mourning. But you can be stuck in one stage where you're not able to move, because first we talk about denial.
Yeah.
And where people, I can't believe she's dead. She's gonna come back to life. Let's put a show so that the neck, that tells you that this child clearly knows this one is not dead. It's like they're still capable of pain and things, and nobody's telling her. And then of course there is anger, where people are angry. Some people are angry towards themselves. That's where you can find somebody even blaming themselves. Did I do something? Is there something I didn't do? Some are angry at God. Like you're the superpower that is supposed to keep all of
Why
us
did
protected.
you allow this?
Why did
didn't
you let this
stop
happen?
Yes.
You had the power. You're the Almighty. You could have stopped this, but here we are. And then of course there is now bargaining. Maybe I should live for you more. If I live for you more, does it mean nobody will ever die again? There's that bargaining. They can bargain around so many things. And then, of course, there is depression, where people now sink into the pain. They are so sad. Eating becomes a problem. Sleeping becomes a problem. They are not focusing. They are not concentrating. Like, there are so many other symptoms, which is like a normal depression symptoms, but it's not like depression of the disorder. It's just part of the process. And then of course some people live to get to the acceptance, where yes, there was so much pain, this person is dead, and I get to live another day appreciating where we are going, and it happened. I've gone through the pain, but we can move forward even with the pain. Yeah, so
Very, very important. That's a very great insight there. And it's good for one to really like process that, because if they don't process, they are haunted by the departure, the pain, the void, the absence.
Yeah.
And as you are saying, that tragically many get into guilty and they start blaming themselves, and that also takes a toll on their mental health.
yes.
So Dorothy, that was quite, devastating. You left alone. Nobody understands what you're going through. And what happened after that? How did that, change you slightly, days after that?
Days after that, I really suffered, because when I go to sleep, sometimes I forget that she is dead. Namtafuta, kwani Vida amelala vibaya, and I remember, oh, she died. And from that time, I don't sleep again. I could hear her voice, the way she used to cry. such like things.
Yeah, such like things.
Her clothes, nikiona manguo zake, mimi ndio nilienda hata kuchukua manguo zake pahali tulikuwa tunaweka, nipelekee mam. Zile nilikuwa saa zingine nambadilisha usiku, vitu alikuwa nalalia. So especially hiyo sauti yake nilikuwa nasikia akilia usiku sana sana, naota analia na ninashtuka, I look for her, where is she? And then
You just remember, oh, she's not there.
She's not there.
Yeah. So now talk to us about now the next incidents, whereby now being the firstborn and looking at you when mama is expectant, and then you are handed over this baby to take care of, especially at night. Taking a responsibility at a tender age, but now here are parents, and they've they're also leaving you with another responsibility. Can you kindly, talk to us about the loss of your parents as well?
The loss of my parents, my mother died in 1997. I was already married. I had 2 kids, I think. I had 2 kids, but very young. She got sick. I went home. I stayed with her. And then I came to Nairobi because now I had stayed at home for long. So I said I want to go back to Nairobi because when she's sick, today she wants this, tomorrow she wants this, and at that time there were no M-Pesas and even phones. So you come back, you look for money, and then you go back
You
home.
travel back
I
home
travel
to
back
take care
home.
of your mom.
Now when I came back, my mother, nilikuwa nisha sense anaweza kufa. Now I knew death was there. So kila wakati nikikaa karibu naye alikuwa anaweka mkono yake kwangu hivi na anashika mkono yangu ni kama ananisalimia. I didn't know what that meant until she died. So mimi nikasema nataka nitoke niende Nairobi, nikaenda nikarudi Nairobi, and she passed on. Nikiwa siko. She passed on a Friday, and then poster haikuwa inafanya. Wakati huo ilikuwa ile ya Telegram, mother dead come home. So before the mother dead come home, it was Monday already, ndio nipate hii ripoti. And then she was not taken to the hospital. She died at home, and they just kept her at home. They did not take her to the mortuary. Now, on Monday, my shosh alikuja on Friday. She said, just bury her. Me, I am tired. I'm going back home. And they buried my mother before I came.
Oh, in your absence?
In my absence.
Oh, okay.
So when I came, I met a certain lady. Akaniambia, hey, Dorothy, pole sana. Tulisha zika Sophie. Nikamwambia, what? You buried her. Niliingia usiku. And then I went home. I cried non-stop for almost 6 hours. I wanted to remove her. I just wanted to see her. How is she like when she's dead? Because I left her, alikuwa amekonda nini. I just wanted to see her. They denied me that. So that affected me. Now, when people were coming back to Nairobi, my father also was there. When people were coming back to Nairobi, now my father was asking, now when I'm in Nairobi, who will I send money to take care of my siblings? Because I was already married. And the other ones were just at home. And everybody was like, I can't. They will just come and go buy food because my father had to come to Nairobi. Now I started feeling, now my mother was this important. We are looking for people to just to give the money to buy for these children food. And there is no one who is ready for that. Watu wanaogopa, pengine watu wanaweza sema nakula pesa yao watoto. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know who my father gave the money. Now I came back to my house. So it was my father's issue and the women from that home sasa. And then after coming, my father was sick again. And then he called me, akaniambia, me, I want to go home. He was here in Nairobi. Akaniambia, I want to go home. I just wanted you to pray for me. Now, at that time, now I was saved. I just want you to pray for me as I go home. And I broke down. I cried because now I knew death was
And
real.
kind of, were you afraid that, you know,
Yeah,
of
I
losing
was
dad?
afraid. I was afraid of losing her, of
Mm,
losing him,
mm,
and I had nothing to do.
mm,
Alikuwa already ashatolewa kazi, akaambiwa ukipona urudi ufanye kazi.
mm.
So he was going home, relocating, kuji tena Nairobi.
Yeah.
So you know, at that time there were no phones. The year 2000, there were no, watu walikuwa na simu walikuwa ni wale wadozi sasa, ama simu za kazi. So watu walikuwa tu, news ilikuwa inafika tu, tumetoka nyumbani, tumesikia na nini mgonjwa. Lakini sasa kama msichana ushaolewa, hiyo news hata haikufikia haraka. And then my father just, he died kama hata sijarudi nyumbani kumnini. And that time nilikuwa pia low financially, singeenda hata kumuona vile nataka. So akakufa, nikaenda nyumbani. So the first born has come, watu wananiambia, Dorothy, mbona hujalia? At that time ndio nilipata nimeokoka, ndio watu ile bilifia, those who are saved should not cry. So nilishikilia, I did not cry. Hadi shosho wangu mwingine ananiambia, na vile ulikuwa unapendwa na baba yako, mbona sijafeel umeingia? Because they were remembering what I did when I came.
Yeah.
Na hata watu wakasema, msitukosanishe na huyo mtoto, perekeni Julius kwa mochari. Huyo mtoto asitufanyie ile kitu. Nililia mpaka kila mtu alikuwa analia kwa kitanda yake nyumbani. Juu watu washazika, watu wameenda, walikuwa nasikia sauti yangu, kila mtu alikuwa analia kwake. So that time walisema wampereke. So the first born, kila wakati Adhiambo, enda uangalie kama amevalishwa vizuri. Zimenisumbua tu silently. So after my father died, nikikuja Nairobi, nikiona mtu amevaa shati kama yake, hadi natoka nje, naenda kumwangalia, nafikiria baba yangu hakukufa, tulibury the wrong person. Naenda mpaka naangalia mtu na realize sio my father, and then I come back na nina break down, ninalia. So saa hizo tulibaki sasa hiyo boma, baba hayuko, mama hayuko, but there was an auntie, the stepmother. Our aunties gave my father, walimletea bibi. Sa huyo bada alikuwa ni mgeni, na baba yangu ashakufa. So tukabaki na huyu mgeni. So watoto wetu wote wakashift kwangu. Kila mtu analia. We had twins, last borns. Wanalia, mimi tukishazika baba yetu, ninaenda na wewe. So utaenda kunibaia kiatu ya ball. Wakaanza sasa kuniambia, na niko hapo.
Yeah.
So mimi nimeshikilia silia. I remember at some point I fainted kwa sababu mama mwingine
That is before burial or after
before burial. Sasa hizo ndio mwili imeletwa.
Yeah.
Sasa hizo mwili imeletwa, and then sasa unajua gari imeenda ikapeleka baba yetu huko juu. So sasa hizi nashindwa niende huko juu. Everybody is looking at me. My mother's friends are looking at me. My father's friends are kila mtu nilikuwa naona tu watu wanaangalia pale niko, and I'm wondering. My father's place ilikuwa ni pale juu na mimi niko kwa gate. Sana shindwa, do I go up there? Au watoto wamenishika, the twins wamenishika wote. Me after burial, baba yetu akishazikwa ninaenda na wewe. So I'm handling this, na watu pia wananiangalia. I'm wondering, niende kwa baba ama nikae hapa? And then kitu ikaniambia tu, bembeleza tu watoto waache hapa, and then you go to your father up there. Now when I was going there, ndio mama mwingine, my best friend of my mother, just came and hugged me. Msichana wa Sophie, na Kijaluo. Alafu vile alinishika, hivyo ndio vile nilianguka. Na saa zile nilijifahamu, nikapata kama najaribu kuongeleshwa, that way.
Yeah, wow. Being the firstborn, and I'm looking at something that you said, and I think, Alina, you can help us unpack this. That bit of you're born again, and you should not, you should be courageous, you should be strong, you should wear this, image of, strong image that you're okay. Because I think I've seen that a lot. There is an incident I witnessed, and I think I was bothered a bit about that, because a father dies and leaves the wife and two girls. And then I remember during that burial, and they were advised never to shed that tear because the father was born again. So daddy has gone to the right place and is with God, and therefore you should not mourn for him, because mourning is like a sign of, weakness. And you're like saying that you don't have faith. What do you think about that?
Unfortunately, that is something a lot of people even quote the Bible for, where the Word of God talks about not mourning like the people of the world without a hope.
Yes.
And the problem with that is there is nothing wrong with what is written in the Bible, is how it's interpreted now. Because people feel like mourning like people of the world means crying, and then not having hope also means faith. You don't have trust in God and a lot of that. And that one now becomes a spectacle. And funny enough, people now quote that without even looking at, especially how did we see death being handled in the Bible. And remember, for instance, when Lazarus had died and Jesus showed up, was it 4 days later, and before he went, he knew he was going to raise him from the dead. But then we see him, the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. And yet a lot of people try to even remove that to show that he was crying for other people. But at that point, the sisters are crying. If you had been here, he wouldn't have died. All of these things, they are emotional. And the emotions in the Bible, it's something that we are supposed to express.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong. That's even the Bible talks about emotions a lot.
Quite
Get
a lot,
angry.
quite a lot,
Get
yeah.
angry, but don't sleep on your anger. So in the Bible, what you do with the emotions, what can lead to sin.
Yeah.
But the emotion itself, we were created with it. Even when you look at how our biological wiring is done, our brains, we have a specific part of the brain that is wired to record, express emotions, tell us how to express it. Like it's something that we are created with. And I don't believe that God made a mistake in creating us with the capacity to have the emotion.
Yeah.
And now using the Bible to show us why we shouldn't cry, I feel like people just haven't read the Bible well or interpreted it well. Otherwise, it's not even something the Bible supports. Neither does even psychology support.
Sure, that's true. That's true. So being strong for others, and being I'm looking at that bit where now she's collapsing, she's fainting actually, because she's been painting up, like bottling up
Yes,
the emotions,
yes,
not
yes.
expressing them, not processing them. And I think that also leads to more problems, because I think it is still that thing to do with fixated. You remain there. You will never move from that bit of processing that pain for your freedom, because
Yes.
you would never come to a point of acceptance if you denied in the first place, and if you didn't process and I keep on saying that our brains are not stupid. they don't just release stuff naturally. They record emotions, they record
They do.
experiences,
They do.
and they keep it. There's a part, the hippocampus of the brain keeps, stores that memory and the
Yes.
experiences that we go through every day. And at some point, these things will resurface. With a
Yes.
slight trigger, you find that like now she's looking at somebody in a shirt and she's rushing, like my
Yes.
dad is here. So
Yes.
it is not like conscious per se, but it is the brain replaying the images that you saw about when they're dressing your dad and all that. Then the void that was left right there, it doesn't go anywhere. And I think this is something that we need to really, speak about, that the brain does not forget. It keeps memories, it keeps experiences. And if they're not well processed in a healthy way, they'll keep on haunting us, because they have to come back. They have to come back in dreams. They have to
Yes.
come back, resurface in normal life. And that is what we call prolonged, production of cortisol, because it is still, overtaking overtaking the brain. I mean, like the limbic system is so much activated, and you find that it tends to prevent the logic brain from functioning. When someone is overwhelmed and you're told, don't think about that. don't process this, don't do this. And then you tune into the survival mode.
Yeah.
And then someone cannot really lead a normal life from that time until the moment they attain healing by processing those experiences. So it's okay to be to grieve. It's okay. It is the only way to healing and to gaining that stability again. And we are taking a short break. Once we are back, after now losing the parents, and Dorothy is here. She's now the mother, the father, and shouldering the responsibility of being the firstborn, which we'll actually talk about what firstborns really go through. Then she faces another, I'll call it a storm, that is of losing 7 siblings.